The power of silence. Why the most dangerous men walk away without warning. Imagine the scenario where the most impactful action a person can take is to simply vanish without a trace. No debates, no final resolution, no parting words, just an absence. This isn't a sign of weakness, but rather a profound decision to stop justifying oneself to those who have never truly listened. In a society where individuals are often conditioned to pursue, to beg, and to validate their value to others who don't deserve it, the truly formidable individuals are those who depart quietly, not driven by anger, but by a clear understanding of the situation. Consider a scenario where a relationship ends painfully. The other party might expect a dramatic reaction, tears, pleas, relentless messages. But this person feels deeply and remains silent, burning internally with emotions that are unexpressed. In this quiet turmoil, they discover a strength far greater than any act of revenge. They find a renewed sense of self. This narrative illustrates how heartbreak doesn't necessarily break a resilient individual. Instead, it refines them. Emotional detachment becomes their tool, and by no longer seeking validation, they become unforgettable. If you feel undervalued and are ready to become invincible, consider this. Your silence is your greatest asset. First and foremost, the pain serves as the catalyst for transformation. He devoted everything to her, his time, his unwavering loyalty, even his very essence. In return, she taught him a profound lesson. Her departure wasn't just the end of a relationship, it marked a new beginning. The anguish he felt was overwhelming, a kind of pain that makes you question every aspect of yourself, your beliefs, and the things you've given. Nights were filled with restless thoughts as he replayed conversations and searched for signs he might have missed, wondering where he went wrong. But this is the deception. Initially, pain often whispers that it's your fault, that you weren't good enough. However, the truth is far different. Pain isn't there to punish you. It's there to reveal who you truly are. It peels away the layers of illusion, the unnecessary attachments, and the weaknesses. It helps you see what is real and genuine. Over time, he came to realize that he was never broken. He had simply been too loyal to someone who didn't deserve it. She left, perhaps expecting him to chase after her, to beg for reconciliation. But something within him changed. He no longer felt the urge to pursue her. He chose to sit with his pain, not to be overwhelmed by it, but to gain wisdom from it. The Stoics, with their timeless philosophy, understood that every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise. This pain, it was his obstacle. But it wasn't a barrier without an exit. It was a gateway. Beyond that door lay the person he was always destined to become. He ceased questioning why she acted the way she did. He stopped wondering what he could have done differently. Instead, he began to ask more productive questions. What can I control in this situation? How can I ensure this never happens again? Who do I need to become so that no one ever has this kind of influence over me again? That's when the pain transformed into purpose. That's when he stopped being a victim of heartbreak and started becoming a student of discipline. That's when the man she had broken began to rebuild. Not to win her back, but to ensure that no one ever had that kind of power over him again. If you're tired of breaking yourself to fix others, if you're ready to rise from the ashes, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a comment below. Pain, when embraced, can build power. Number 2, silence is power. For example, consider the power of silence in meditation or in strategic decision-making. It allows you to gather your thoughts, reflect deeply, and make more informed choices. Silence can be a powerful tool for self-discovery and personal growth, much like how embracing pain can lead to transformation. She anticipated a lot of noise. She'd braced herself for an emotional breakdown. She even expected to receive late-night messages at 2 a.m. questioning her decisions. However, What she encountered was an unsettling silence. It was a profound, intense, and almost frightening silence. This absence of sound affected her more deeply than any argument could have. You see, when a man chooses to walk away without uttering a single word, the message he conveys is more powerful than any words he could have shouted. It communicates, "You are not significant enough for me to disrupt my peace." This is what silence embodies. It reflects self-respect, emotional control, and a form of Stoic discipline that is truly admirable. While many men might react impulsively, pleading, expressing anger, or attempting to win her back, the truly formidable ones do not engage in such behavior. They grasp a fundamental truth: the individual who maintains control over their emotions is the one who ultimately governs the situation. Thus, he opted for silence. His actions weren't driven by a lack of concern, but rather by a deeper priority: preserving his own mental clarity instead of trying to prove a point. That silent treatment resonated intensely within her mind and chest, filling every space she thought he would fill with his presence or words. Suddenly, her certainty wavered. Was he hurt? Had he simply given up? Had he truly left her? Psychology shows us that this kind of silence can be incredibly powerful. It creates a sense of uncertainty that can destabilize someone. When a person expects a response and receives none, it can unravel their composure. Silence, in this context, becomes the most unexpected and impactful twist. It compels the other person to confront their actions without any distractions, blame shifting, or escape routes. It's in that inevitable quiet that regret tends to start taking root. And that's exactly where he left her, alone, confused, and haunted by the stillness. He didn't disappear suddenly without explanation. Rather, he evolved beyond her. Through his silence, he allowed his actions to speak for themselves. If you're tired of arguing with people who only listen to what they want to hear, and you're ready to take control of your emotional responses, consider liking this content, subscribing, turning on notifications, and leaving a comment below. Remember, sometimes silence is the most powerful form of expression. Lastly, always keep in mind, feelings can be deceptive. Actions speak louder than words. She told him she loved him, expressed all the right sentiments, and made promises of forever. Yet, when challenges arose and loyalty was truly needed, she disappeared without a trace. That's when the truth became clear to him. Words can be empty, feelings can be misleading, but actions are always honest. She claimed to care deeply, but her choice was to create distance. She said he was important, yet treated him as just an option. That isn't love. It's convenience, a false sense of comfort pretending to be a genuine connection. He used to cling to every "I love you," replaying those words in his mind as if they were sacred truths. However, Stoicism teaches that a person should rely on what is visible and tangible, not on hopeful wishes or fleeting emotions. This means letting go of illusions, stopping the guessing games, and no longer placing trust in feelings that change like the wind. He began to focus on people's actions rather than their promises. What he observed was someone who didn't truly value him. Her behavior loudly contradicted the words she refused to admit aloud. She never truly saw him for who he was. Although this realization was painful, it ultimately brought him freedom and clarity. He ceased to idealize the warning signs in relationships and stopped extending the benefit of the doubt to individuals whose actions had already revealed their true nature. He came to realize that loyalty is demonstrated through actions. Love is about being present, and respect is shown through consistent behavior. Anything less than this is merely background noise. Consequently, he chose to ignore that noise. Rather than becoming resentful, he focused on self-improvement. He transformed into a man who no longer chases after empty words. Instead, he observes and analyzes behavioral patterns. When he identifies a pattern of disrespect, he quietly and permanently removes himself from the situation. If you are tired of being deceived by charming falsehoods and are ready to embrace the often challenging realities of life, please give this a thumbs up, subscribe, enable notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I place my trust in patterns rather than in promises. Moving on to point number 4, rejection serves as a form of redirection. When she walked away, it initially felt as though his world was crumbling. He had believed she was the one and envisioned a future that included her. However, it's important to understand that rejection does not equate to destruction. Rather, it is a form of redirection. Life does not remove people from your life to cause you pain. Instead, it clears away what is hindering your progress. That woman, in reality, was not meant to be part of his future. She was putting up a barrier. Initially, he took it to heart, questioning his own worthiness. He wondered if he had somehow ruined everything. However, as he delved deeper into the silence that followed, his perspective began to shift. Her departure was not a misfortune. Rather, it was a necessary adjustment in his life's path. She was never meant to accompany him on the journey he was embarking upon. Her energy did not resonate with the idea of personal growth. What she sought was comfort, a sense of control, and perhaps even a bit of chaos, but she had no interest in purpose or depth. This realization served as a pivotal moment for him. The rejection he felt was not a reflection of his value. It was an opportunity to create space in his life. Space for something more profound, for someone who possessed greater wisdom. Or perhaps, it was a chance to finally gain clarity about himself, free from the need to prove his worth to someone who was incapable of recognizing it. Stoics embrace what has been lost rather than resist it. They acknowledge the lessons learned and move forward, understanding that every experience, even the pain of heartbreak, contributes to the growth of a disciplined individual. By closing one door, she inadvertently opened another, one he would never have had the courage to explore had he remained in a state of longing for love. Let's talk about breaking free from the past and embracing a new chapter in life. If you're ready to move on from what's holding you back and start walking through the right doors, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. For many of us, rejection can be a powerful catalyst for growth and redirection. Take, for example, the story of someone who chose not to let another person's rejection define them. Instead, they used it as an opportunity to rediscover themselves and find a new sense of purpose. This brings us to an important lesson: the art of not reacting. Imagine someone trying to provoke a reaction from you, perhaps through a subtle post on social media, a passive-aggressive message, or a photo with someone new. It's natural to feel the urge to respond, but what if you could rise above it and choose not to react? This is exactly what the Stoic individual does. In today's fast-paced world, we're often conditioned to respond immediately, to defend ourselves, to argue, or to explain. However, the disciplined person knows that reactions can be traps, waiting to steal our peace and calm. Every time we react, we give away our emotional center, allowing others to dictate our feelings and actions. But what if you could master the art of not reacting? This doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. It means you've learned to control them, rather than being controlled by them. It's about sitting with the urge to react, letting it pass, and choosing to do nothing. By doing so, you retain your power and peace, refusing to hand over your emotions like a cheap gift. This is a valuable lesson for all of us, as it allows us to maintain our emotional balance and live a more intentional, meaningful life. So, the next time someone tries to trigger you, remember that you have the power to choose how you respond. Take a deep breath, let the urge to react pass, and rise above the noise. Your peace and calm are worth it. She craved turmoil and upheaval. In response, he offered her a void of silence. She sought out intense theatrical conflict. He, in turn, provided a vast expanse of separation. This is the very essence of disrupting a harmful pattern. You see, when an individual grasps that they can no longer manipulate your emotional state, they are effectively shut out from your personal world. When this realization dawns, they are left with two choices. They can descend into a chaotic spiral, or they can simply vanish. Regardless of the path they choose, he emerges victorious. The principles of dark psychology teach us that a manipulator is utterly bewildered by someone who ceases to engage with their tactics. And Stoicism, that ancient philosophy of emotional control, transforms that initial bewilderment into unwavering self-discipline. He wasn't compelled to demonstrate his indifference. He genuinely embodied it. It was this profound sense of inner peace and stability that ultimately led her to feel remorse. It wasn't his spoken words or any display of his own suffering that did it. It was his absolute absence of an emotional response that truly impacted her. If you've reached a point where you're no longer willing to fuel chaos with your precious energy, if you're prepared to cultivate a state of serene composure, then show your support by hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, activating notifications, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, true power lies in inner strength. Number 6 on our list. He transforms into an elusive phantom. She found it hard to fathom that he would actually make a permanent exit. She assumed he would vanish for a short period, only to return groveling, as so many others had done in the past. But this particular situation unfolded in a completely unexpected manner. He didn't simply walk away, he disappeared entirely. No digital footprints, no cryptic messages, no social media posts to hint at his whereabouts. He transformed into a ghost-like figure, not out of spite, but to safeguard his inner calm. True emotional detachment means erasing all traces. He's not seeking longing or attention. Instead, he withdraws entirely, guided by a realization many never grasp. Being present gives others power over you, but true control comes from stepping away. Presence grants others influence, but absence holds the ultimate authority. When his departure is absolute, the emptiness left behind feels overwhelming. The void isn't just silent, it's thunderously loud, echoing the message, "Your access has been revoked." This wasn't about provoking emotions, it was a final edit. Her story had reached its conclusion, and he closed the book without ceremony. She now belongs to his history, and history shouldn't weigh down someone shaping their future. Here, the realms of psychological manipulation and Stoic philosophy collide. To her, he's become an enigma, an unresolved plot hole she can't quite make sense of. She finds herself trapped in a loop of observation, speculation, and overanalysis, yet no answers emerge. This is how the mind torments itself when closure remains out of reach, especially when the person you crave clarity from has long stopped offering explanations. The ghost, a term often misused, isn't harboring resentment here. Instead, he's transformed. His energy is directed elsewhere, channeled into constructing a future that no longer includes her. The emptiness between them, the growing void, isn't a calculated move to provoke a reaction. It's a deliberate boundary, a quiet declaration that he's no longer available for emotional entanglements. When a person becomes a ghost in this sense, they're not hiding from pain. They're actively healing in spaces where others can't follow. If you've reached a point where defending your choices to those determined to misinterpret you feels exhausting, and you're ready to step back, regroup, and grow, this message is for you. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe to stay connected, and drop your thoughts below. Sometimes, absence speaks volumes because it forces reflection that presence never could. Take point 7, attraction born from indifference. She never imagined he'd simply walk away. She assumed he'd linger in the background, waiting for a signal that she might return. But what shattered her most wasn't the silence. It was his complete emotional detachment. No anger. no sorrow. Just a quiet, unwavering focus on his own path, leaving her standing in the shadow of his departure. Suddenly, she began to observe all the things she had previously overlooked. She started to recognize his worth, his presence, and the energy he exuded. This is how attraction can shift. It doesn't stem from relentless pursuit. Rather, it emerges from a combination of distance and self-discipline. He didn't feel the need to demonstrate that he had moved on. He simply did so without fanfare. His social media posts weren't aimed at impressing her. Instead, he was focused on his own personal growth behind the scenes. He dedicated himself to quiet workouts at the gym, embraced early mornings, and eliminated distractions, all while pursuing his goals with determination. This was what struck her the most. He was indifferent to whether she was watching his progress, because his life no longer revolved around seeking validation from others. This is where true strength resides. While many men might attempt to win her back, he took a different approach. He came to a profound realization: value increases when it is scarce. When you are always available, you tend to be taken for granted. However, when you are genuinely detached and indifferent to whether she notices your efforts, that's when you become truly attractive. The most compelling type of man is not the one who boasts about his achievements, but rather the one who possesses confidence without the need for external approval. This led her to ponder: does he still have feelings for her? Did he move on to someone new? Was I truly so easy to replace? He didn't offer explanations, only quiet determination and forward motion. That's when apathy transforms into allure, not by pretending to be cold, but by becoming someone who no longer craves their approval. If you've stopped begging for attention and are ready to let your absence create more impact than your presence ever could, give this a thumbs up, hit subscribe, enable notifications, and drop a comment below. Real worth doesn't need applause. Number 8. Self-discipline is the ultimate form of magnetism. She assumed he'd crumble. She pictured him chasing fleeting relationships, posting dramatic updates, or losing control emotionally. But no. What she witnessed was unwavering focus, a laser-like commitment to his goals, and a self-restraint so intense it bordered on hypnotic. While she scoured his life for cracks, he was quietly building a future that excluded her entirely. And that realization? It shattered her. It stirred up feelings she convinced herself she was immune to: regret, uncertainty, and a deep ache for what might have been. Here's the truth. Most people think seduction is about witty lines, flashy gestures, or over-the-top displays. But the real magic lies in a man's ability to say no, to resist impulses, to stay steady when the world is pulling him in 1,000 directions. That's the kind of maturity that turns fleeting connections into lasting legacies. He didn't need to parade new relationships to prove he'd moved on. He didn't need to mention her name to remind her of his existence. His power came from his stillness, his quiet confidence, and the unshakable knowledge that his value wasn't tied to her validation. Think about it. When someone stops chasing approval, they become impossible to ignore. It's not about being cold, it's about being complete. And that's the kind of energy that leaves people wondering, what if? Have you ever noticed how someone's silence can be more powerful than their words? This is exactly what happened with him. He became utterly captivating in his own quiet confidence. Self-control is often misunderstood as merely being about discipline, but it's so much more than that. It's an attractive quality that can leave a lasting impression on others, making them wonder what they did to lose access to that unique energy. It's not that he didn't have feelings for her. It's just that his desire for peace and purpose outweighed his desire for her. Once a person reaches this level of self-awareness, no amount of temptation can shake them off their path. He transformed into a force to be reckoned with, calm and unshakable, like a storm in stillness. This unavailability, this focus, is what made her realize too late that she should have valued him when she still had the chance. If you're tired of losing yourself in an attempt to prove your worth to others, and you're ready to let your self-discipline speak for itself, then join me by liking this content, subscribing, turning on notifications, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. For me, my focus is my way of taking back control. Let's move on to the next point. Regret can be a powerful mirror, but it's not always a burden that the other person has to carry. It started with small, almost imperceptible moments, old memories resurfacing, fleeting glimpses of what they once had together. A song, a place, or a random reminder would trigger these memories. At first, she tried to brush them off, but as time went on, the memories hit her harder. She came to realize that she had lost something truly real and meaningful. This journey of self-discovery and growth is not always easy, but it's a necessary step towards becoming the best version of ourselves. And now, the weight of regret was pressing down, heavy and suffocating. But by that point, it was already too late. He had moved on, leaving the past behind. He wasn't waiting for a chance to return or hoping for a different outcome. He wasn't even watching the path he left. He had advanced so far that the past could no longer touch him. This is when regret becomes unbearable, not when you see someone struggling without your presence, but when you witness them flourishing without ever looking back. Here's a truth that many are reluctant to admit. Regret is a mirror, reflecting back all the things you disregarded, undervalued, or took for granted. She was gazing into that mirror now, feeling its icy chill. However, what sets the Stoic man apart is his ability to move forward without the burden of regret. He doesn't cling to what isn't rightfully his. Her choices were hers alone, and so were her consequences. He didn't seek closure or crave revenge, for a man on a mission doesn't look back for validation. He keeps moving forward, leaving the past to watch in silence. This forward-thinking mindset allows him to focus on his goals, unencumbered by the weight of past mistakes or missed opportunities. It's a powerful lesson for anyone seeking to grow and move on from past regrets. This is where the tension between dark psychology and inner tranquility converges. Imagine the profound ache of realizing someone you once relied on has moved on, untouched by your turmoil. Not out of anger or resentment, but simply because they've stopped caring. That's the essence of regret, not a burden to fix, but a story meant to be lived by the one who experienced it. If you're ready to let go of guilt that never belonged to you, if you're prepared to let others face the consequences of their choices, then take action. Hit that like button, subscribe, and enable notifications. Her sorrow is not your duty to resolve. Number 10 illustrates this. The Stoic becomes unattainable. By the time she grasps what she's lost, he's already beyond reach, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and purposefully. She no longer has access to the person she once knew, because that version of him no longer exists. He didn't withdraw, he evolved. He didn't close off, he ascended. When someone rises above their past, they become inaccessible to anything that once defined them. This is the ultimate form of Stoic discipline, not silence or detachment, but transcendence. He no longer dwells in her world. You don't need validation from others. What you truly need is self-discipline, quiet reflection, and a clear sense of direction. That's the real formula for success. Winning isn't about convincing someone who left you of your value. It's about transforming yourself so completely, through focus and personal growth, that you become unrecognizable, even to those from your past. This journey isn't about reclaiming a lost relationship. It's about rediscovering and reclaiming your own identity. And when you finally heal and rebuild, remember, those who abandoned you during your lowest moments no longer have the right to access the stronger, wiser version of you that emerged from the pain. Pain may have been the catalyst for your transformation, but it's your newfound sense of purpose that will carry you to the finish line. You've endured hardship, faced your struggles head-on, and emerged on the other side, perhaps a bit colder, but definitely sharper, more insightful, and truly liberated. This is the essence of the Stoic journey, mastering your emotions and actions regardless of who may have hurt you, focusing on what you can control, letting go of what you cannot, and building a life that is unshakable. If these words resonate with you, don't just sit back and reflect, take action. Strive to become the kind of man who responds thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively, who draws others in through his presence rather than chasing after them, and who moves forward and grows instead of returning to the past. This is the true gift of Stoicism. If you're ready to step away from what no longer serves you, rise above your old self, and never look back, show your support by liking, subscribing, turning on notifications, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. I've already moved beyond my past, and I look forward to seeing you at the next stage of your journey. You don't necessarily need others to understand you. What truly matters is having self-discipline, embracing silence, and having a clear purpose. That's the path to success. Not by seeking validation from those who have moved on, but by transforming into someone so deeply focused and elevated that they can barely recognize the person you become. This journey isn't about reclaiming a past relationship. It's about rediscovering and rebuilding yourself. Once you achieve that, those who left you shouldn't have any claim to the stronger, healed version of you. Your story began with pain, but it will end with a sense of purpose. You've emerged from trials more resilient, perhaps colder, but certainly sharper, wiser, and free. This is the essence of the Stoic way of life: to maintain control over yourself regardless of betrayal, to manage what you can change, let go of what you cannot, and construct a life that stands unshaken by external forces. If these words resonate with you, if they touch a deep truth within, don't just observe, take action. Become the kind of person who makes decisions rather than reacts, who leads instead of chases, who evolves rather than returns. This is the gift of Stoicism. If you're prepared to move forward, rise above, and never look back, please like this post, subscribe to my channel, enable notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below.